when you look at our generation right now, if you're a business, whether you're a small business, whether you are a big business, how these guys want to communicate with you is a channel of their preference. They can tell you, I want to communicate with you through Facebook or WhatsApp or Instagram or LinkedIn, and they want to be able to get a response from you, whether you like it or not. As a business, it's up to you to define how you would then want to interact with these customers. Do you want to be known as a business that only responds on Facebook, or do you want to be known as a business that responds through all channels? We've made that available to businesses because we've then integrated all those platforms into one to make your work easier. One thing we have learned working with African businesses, because a lot of times they're like, yo, this is really, really expensive. It just depends with the economy. Essentially, that's been one of the major challenges for even our competitors as they come to these markets. They've had to rethink their pricing. For digital marketing, social media marketing, billboards, all that shebang, like the best thing to do for that is maybe if you want to create awareness. But if you actually want to convert, you actually need to have boots on ground. It's the easiest way. And a lot of times as founders, you guys are the ones who actually have to be on ground. Up until at least you're able to get at least your first 100 to probably 1,000 customers, that's when maybe things become automated. One thing we didn't learn quite early in business was you probably don't need someone like VP of sales or head of business development until you get to maybe like your first 100 customers. And I think that's something that we learned the hard way. Like we hired like BDM who we were paying a lot of money, and that come from working with like very prestigious businesses like Cellulant, and you can see very big names, ex Uber, ex Cellulant, ex blah blah blah. And you're like, if this person comes, we're killing it. Like we're going to make billions. But then they come in and a year down and they've not even converted anything.
Today's guest, co-founder and CEO of Dial Afrika, Japheth
Yeah.
Dibo. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for taking the time. Tell us about Dial Afrika. What does the product do? Who is it for? And what's the main problem you're helping solve?
All right. So Dial Afrika is a business name, but our product is called Bonga CX. We're actually in the middle of a rebranding, so maybe over the next few weeks or so, you might see the name change from what you know. But in a nutshell, we are a B2B SaaS customer support platform. So we provide omnichannel customer support solutions to businesses. So we enable companies to streamline like their customer support operations through cloud-based communications. So we offer businesses an affordable and scalable way to manage their customer interactions through various channels. So we have our platform called Ponga CX, which was our flagship product. And it's fully an omnichannel customer support platform that integrates multiple communication channels, which include voice, calls for inbound and outbound. And then we've got live chat, we have a sales CRM, and then we have the ticketing aspect that then integrates the live chat aspects, social media, things like WhatsApp, Facebook, Messenger, Twitter, email, and SMSs as well. And then we also have an arm that does business process outsourcing. So we offer scalable business process outsourcing services to either smaller businesses or more established businesses that do not have the time or the capacity to hire, train, and basically run their whole customer support or telesales or back office processes. So we then take care of that for them. And then we also have a cloud-based CRM that then allows you to run your sales operations as a business. But I think the cherry or the icing of what we offer is mainly on us leveraging on the power of machine learning, bringing in aspects of artificial intelligence, like to automate routines, queries, provide like instant responses, reduce customer wait times, improve response time, and just to enhance customer satisfaction so that as a business, you can concentrate on what matters and you let us handle the mundane tasks. It, of course, the analytics that come with it, performance tracking, the cost, and how scalable we allow you to be as a business. So we serve different industries from e-commerce, financial services, healthcare, telecommunications, logistics and transport, hospitality, retail. So essentially, that's who we are. I hope that that has given you context.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
super cool stuff. I can't wait to dive a bit deeper into your features. But first, give us a sense of the size of the business. Where are you in terms of team, revenue, and users?
In terms of team, currently we are at about 64. We were slightly above 80 last year. We had to do a lot of restructuring and let people go. But then also uh, we have presence across multiple African countries. So we have a branch here in Kenya and a branch in Nigeria. Nigeria essentially drives our West African efforts, and Kenya drives our East African efforts. But we do have customer presence in 18 African countries. And essentially, last year we closed at about $1.3 million in annual recurring revenue, which I think was way, way below the target that we had intended to get. Of course, market dynamics and also a couple of
Yeah.
things that we had not put into perspective. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Again, we're going to dive a bit into the numbers later. But correct me if I'm wrong. But my assumption is that your biggest competitor is the low cost of labor in Africa, right? Like from the perspective of the business, why use digital tools when I can pay someone a dollar, sorry, $100 to $200 to do the same thing? And I want to tie this in with a conversation I had with Moses Kemibaro last year. Where he gave the
Mm,
example of the physical notebooks at office buildings, right? So you're about to go in for a meeting, you have to write in your name. That could be digitized, but it's still very manual, right? And so it becomes very clear
yeah.
that in emerging markets, Africa specifically, introducing tools like yours kind of requires a behavioral shift. So, how are you going about demonstrating value to users who might not yet see the urgency in replacing low cost labor with technology?
I'd probably look at it from a point of we are not looking to replace this labor, but we're trying to make their work easier. Uh, Probably providing them with tools that can help them maybe be more efficient, um, avoid mundane tasks, and actually derive more in terms of the data that they get instead of it going and disappearing in the notebooks, as you said. The data can now be processed and it can give you, like, for example, feedback in terms of like how many meetings have you had, how many are productive, what are the chances of this meeting converting compared to the one that you had like last week. At this guess the decision makers, and then you then have the ability to, for example, predict and have like a more likely outcome and understand that, okay, these are when I'm approaching a certain business, these are the kinds of people that I need to talk to within this business. These are the decision maker, and this is the champion that I need to essentially ride with when I'm going to speak to an organization. Essentially how we do it, and I think we are not there yet at 100%. So it's still something that, of course, we're still figuring out. And I think we posed a lot of pushing content on our socials because we wanted to figure out um, what story do we want to put out there, like, and how do we communicate that story effectively to customers. That's one. And then two, the messaging that goes out, is it relating to the customer, is it communicating what we want for it to communicate to the customer. So I think most importantly, right now how we approach it is more um, manual. I think, let me put it that way. So we actually visit customers, and we speak to them. So, for example, um, every Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we go to customers directly and we speak to them. We pitch
Yeah.
to them what we're about, um, and we teach them, and we try to create that awareness by actually interacting with them in person. And then through that, they're able to introduce us to someone else once we're able to resolve their problem. And so, what we do when we speak to you, we tell you, okay, listen, how do you run your internal processes? That's one. How do you run your customer support processes, and how do you run your sales process effectively? So we focus more on customer acquisition, which is very crucial to the business, customer satisfaction, and then customer retention, and overall the data that you collect when interacting with these customers. How can you use it to make more informed decisions as a business? So our core focus essentially is just creating that awareness to different individuals, businesses, to understand that, okay, this is how you're doing your, so we understand this is how you're doing your internal processes, but then how can we come in and then just make it better? Yeah.
Now, on talking to customers, is that how you land your first 10 users? Walk us through the strategies you use to close your first 10 users.
Yeah. How we landed our first 10 users. It was actually quite interesting. I think uh, our first 10 users, I think we landed them during our first year. I kind of like to say that in Africa, it's still not a mature market yet compared to, for example, Europe, the US, and some other very mature markets. So, like getting to like 10 or 100, getting to 100 took us a while. Getting to 200, it's taken a lot more than we thought we would. But then also, as you said, there's a very huge gap because it's one thing to have a product, but it's another thing to get to get that product to people who are paying. So I think us getting to our first 10 users, it was either myself or my co-founder going to sell, and we still do it up to date. Like as I said, like every week, we have to go knock in almost every office in Nairobi. So we usually plan ourselves and say, so this week we're gonna go to, for example, probably the fintech industry or the insurance
Is
industry.
this like completely
And
cold? Like you just show up to the
yes, it's
offices?
completely cool. Yeah, we just
Okay.
show up and
So,
we say,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, so
What are
listen,
you
we've
telling
got
them?
this. And I mean, like we've just come to pitch. So if you're curious enough to learn and listen, then of course we listen to each other. So essentially, it's just like a cold pitch. You walk, you meet the receptionist, you ask, we introduce yourselves, requests to probably speak to someone internally, understand the tools that they have currently, and if there are any gaps that the tool is not solving for them. And then yeah, then you analyze that, and then you request for like a follow-on session,
Yeah.
and then yeah, you pitch your value proposition to them. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say the close rate for that strategy is? How many people, from the walk-ins, the office walk-ins, how many of those people are you then turning to users?
I think I'd say like 80, 70, 80% of them. And just don't get me wrong, like we've tried out like email marketing, we've tried out like and again, if you don't get your messaging right from the get-go, especially for the African market, it's gonna be disastrous. So we've done a lot of A/B tests. We've done a lot of digital marketing, social media marketing. We've done it all. Yeah, and I think the conversion rates are quite low. So for digital marketing, social media marketing, billboards, all that shebang, like the best thing to do for that is maybe if you want to create awareness. But if
Yeah.
you actually want to convert, you actually need to have boots on ground. It's the easiest way, and a lot of times, as a founder, you have to be, or as founders, you guys are the ones who actually have to be on ground up until at least you're able to get at least your first 100 to probably 1,000 customers. That's when now maybe a lot of things become automated, and then it's a process that never stops because the moment you let go and say, now I have 1,000 customers or now I have 100, so maybe I can focus on something else. I can focus on growth and start raising capital. I think you forget why you started doing what you're doing, because everything that you do, like you have to be very customer obsessed. Essentially, I think that's what drives us right now, and because we've made a lot of mistakes before. That said, we still do make mistakes even as we go, but we learn a lot from the customers. So we do speak with the customers a lot. We interact with them as much as we can, get feedback, understand are we actually giving them the value that we promised we'd give, and if not, how can we get them there? So yeah.
Super, super interesting stuff. And so, okay, so how are you thinking about scaling? Because, okay, it's just two co-founders, I believe. You can't be the only ones heading, heading outreach. So how are you thinking about, or are you the only ones heading outreach? How are you thinking about that, and how are you thinking about that, especially as you grow?
So one, as I think one thing we didn't learn quite early in business was early enough, like you probably don't need someone like VP of sales or head of business development until you get to maybe like your first 100 customers. And I think that's something that we learned the hard way. Like we hired like our BDM we were paying a lot of money, and they'd come from like, working with like very prestigious businesses like Cellulant, and
Yeah,
you can see very big names, ex Uber, ex Cellulant, ex blah blah blah. And you're like, if
yeah.
this person comes, we're killing it. Like we're
they're
going
gonna
to
they're gonna
make
solve
millions.
all our growth pains.
But then they come in and a year down, and they've not even converted anything. Because now you as a founder, you're concentrating on something else because you're like, okay, this person is someone who understands the processes of how the sales department needs to run or how the marketing department needs to run. But that said, yes, right now we're not the only two. We're not me and my co-founder. We're not the only ones pushing the vision of the business.
Yeah,
We have an amazing team. We have a very solid team that we work with. So uh, we have a team of engineers that we work with that have been pushing our vision as well, and they understand why we're doing what we're doing. We have an amazing team right now that we've been setting up for sales. Quite a small team, especially for Kenya and Nigeria, and they've been kicking us
yeah,
despite the challenges that they have. Yeah, we have quite like a young, energetic team that we're working with as well from both fronts. I think one of the things that we haven't done as well, so we let go of the whole marketing department. So we're currently in the process of hiring for that as well,
mm,
just to get like our growth trajectory in order. But that said, we'll only be able to do that once we're done with the rebranding process that we're doing. So once that's done, we want to expand into different markets. So we want to expand to like the US, want to expand to Europe, LATAM, APAC as well, just to fight for market share within this markets as well. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay. One, I'm super curious what leads to the decision that you just mentioned, the, letting go of the entire marketing team. Did you feel like things weren't going the way you expected, or was it just you need an overhaul of your marketing efforts?
Yeah, like I mean, like as I said, um, probably we were not doing things right initially,
Mm,
and um, we did not understand why sales and marketing need to be separate. And
yeah,
sales is a whole different thing, marketing is a whole different thing. So we needed to get that right, and we didn't get it right from the get go. And then also we just wanted to kind of separate the teams, for example. So if it's marketing, we needed to have like someone who essentially is just a storyteller, and someone who's a copywriter, and they understand each
yeah,
other, and uh, there's someone who can actually pick up that story and put it in an infographic or an image that easily correlates or puts out what we're trying to communicate to the customer, right? So we were not getting that right.
yeah,
So and that said, we also started the process of rebranding, because if you're going to scale into different markets, we can't go as Dial Africa. We might need to go with a totally different name to be able to compete with people like
yeah,
Zendesk or Zoho or via, yeah.
Yeah, actually, my follow-on question was, how do you view competition outside of Africa? There are some players who have been established for quite a while. So even as you scale efforts into the US and other markets, how are you thinking about competition?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question, and I think how we view competition is like these markets are pretty mature, and the customers know what they want. So
Yeah,
it's a matter of is are you communicating like the value to the customer well enough, and then is your onboarding processes within the software very clear and very straightforward and very easy, and then how fast can you onboard a customer to the product, so that then you, as much as you communicate the value, you getting them to like the wow factor is as fast as you are wowing them during the presentation. So that when a customer is coming, you're not taking like 2 years or 3 years to for lack of a better word, but usually sometimes it takes like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 days. um but I think uh, probably our upsell is essentially the levels of customizations that we offer to
yeah,
customers. We just don't sell you off the shelf products. So when you come onto, or rather, when you're interested in working with us as a business, when we collaborate together, essentially what we do is we do offer, because we work with different industries, we offer a templated approach where, based on the interactions we've had, for example, with an insurance company, or for
yeah,
example, if it's an oil and gas company, or maybe an e-commerce, what essentially happens is, based on the data that we have collected and interacted with this with for example, these types of businesses that are like your business, you would then create like a template approach that essentially shortens that journey for you if you're in the same industry as our previous customer, so that then you don't take a lot of time to get to the wow factor, because we already know what approach to essentially run within your team, be it like
yeah.
your operations, your sales team, or your customer satisfaction team. So it makes it a lot more easier when we are onboarding you as a business. And then two, of course, costs. Um, Smaller businesses are cost averse, and sometimes they might not afford very expensive tools. And that's
Yeah.
one thing we have learned working with African businesses, because a lot of times they're like, "Yo, this is really really expensive," and also it's not their fault. It just depends with the economy. So essentially, that's been one of the major challenges for even our competitors, even as they come to these markets. They've had to rethink their pricing. They've had to rethink the strategies around acquisition and support as well. So I think those are some of the things that I think would give us an edge when we push out to other markets.
You've touched a bit on the onboarding process. Now, my initial assumption from your website was that it's very self-serve. At least that's what I had assumed for the price point,
Yeah,
because I think it begins at 2,500 shillings,
yeah,
around there. Um,
yeah.
but then what you're saying is it's very much customized to your needs. So can you walk us through what the onboarding process looks like, bringing businesses on platform?
So I mean, right now it's actually very manual. I'd call it that, but it's based on the services that we're offering. Because of the voice service. Essentially, like the market here, it's very strange, and we also do rely on some other vendors. So, for example, if it's calls, we rely on Safaricom, we rely on Airtel.
Yeah,
Uh, in Kenya, if you go to Tanzania, we rely on Tigo. Uganda, we rely on MTN or Airtel. Nigeria, we rely on Glo or MTN. And now the challenge, for example, even for Ethiopia, we do rely on Ethio Telecom. The challenge is getting a direct relationship with these telcos take a lot of time, especially in our line of business. There's a lot of gatekeeping. There's a lot of like bureaucracies. So it means you actually have to get either use a tier one or tier two telco, and sometimes the level of quality that they provide is not good. So if you're using, for
yeah,
example, like Safaricom and MTN as well, so you need to have as many options available to you. But I do believe as time goes by, and I'm hoping probably this is the year that this is going to change, where you can actually get like very good partnership conversations with such telcos, such that they can offer you existing numbers, and you have those existing numbers listed on your platform, and then customers can easily, quickly get onboarded without you having to go back to like a telco like Safaricom or MTN. And then once a customer essentially self onboards, they just go ahead and start using the platform. Unless they need training, then they can request to get trained on maybe certain modules. So currently onboarding process is quite manual, but with the new release of the software that we are releasing to the market, we are trying to push as much as we can to have this relationships and collaborations with these telcos solidified in place, such that we have existing uh, for example, DIDs available, or
Yeah.
existing numbers, or with be it virtual lines. So partners, people like Meta as well, to get like the WhatsApp process and support as easy and as seamless. So I think with the new upgrade, or rather the new version of our platform, I think we should shorten the onboarding process to almost like an hour or less, if you're tech savvy. Yeah.
You've mentioned working with external partners, so I want to touch on this, and mainly in regards to AI. So the cost of models, as you know, fluctuates based on your usage, right? So how are you thinking about this variable
Yeah.
expense while building out your pricing strategy?
Yeah. I mean, that's a really crucial thing to look at, especially if you're a business that's trying to build around artificial intelligence. Uh, but I think we were quite lucky enough to be a business that was backed by Google. Um, so that has given us some mileage in terms of us being able to get resources around AI, and just playing around with them. That's when we were also lucky enough to get backed by NVIDIA. So it's been
Oh wow,
quite easy.
I had no idea. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's been quite easy. I mean, we try to do our stuff on stealth mode a lot. We don't like to make a lot of noise, um, but like the noise will make itself.
yeah,
Rather the business will make it for itself when the time is right. But I think right now
yeah.
we're quite a small business, and we are hoping to get somewhere pretty soon.
So Bonga it's not at all a niche product. You serve healthcare, you serve commerce, you serve logistics. I think fintech as well. So how are you molding your messaging to stay relevant across all these industries?
So the thing is, like we are sector agnostic, as a like our product is sector agnostic, so it doesn't matter the industry that you're in. So how we center the messaging right now is, so essentially we want to, one, help you as a business understand your consumer behavior through the machine learning aspects that we have. And for us to be able to do that, we want to understand the whole journey of, one, how do you acquire customers? And then once you've acquired these customers, how do you retain these particular customers, right? And then even as you try to retain these customers during that process, how do you make sure that you provide effective customer support to them, right? So we want to be able to understand that journey, and um, identify any gaps that are in between every process, from acquisition to satisfaction to retention. And then based on essentially, because data is very key for every business, and the data that you have should be able to guide you as a business, or rather help you make more informed decisions as a business, and define essentially, how do I want to make sure that either my customers are properly served or properly catered for, or rather I'd say probably, um, if you're launching like a new product, you understand that, okay, this is the data that I have, or this is the data that I've had from interacting with 10 or 20 customers. So what do I need to do if I want to launch like maybe a sub product or an additional service to these particular customers. So I think essentially that's how we approach it now. Yeah, but it's an ever changing dynamic because customers evolve quickly. Because once you're able to serve like a particular niche, then there's a need that always arises. So you always have to always constantly get feedback from your customers and be on the know of market trends. So that essentially means you have to keep doing a lot of research. You have to keep building, like you don't stop at what you offer the customers. So you have to be innovative and keep scaling and try and bring in new things based off the feedback that you get from customers. Not just build features because they're cool, but also build with a purpose, essentially. Yeah.
So always learning, basically.
Yeah.
So on that, founders often go into markets with their own assumptions of the space. For
Yeah.
you, has there been any personal bias or assumption about your customers or the market that you were forced to unlearn?
Oh yeah. I mean, like so many. Yeah, like I think we've had to relearn and unlearn so many things as we go, and we still do it actually almost every week. Because you'd assume maybe because like this software worked for customer X, then it would work for customer Y, and then
Yeah.
up until you get to this customer and you understand like okay, then the same industry, yes, but the use case and how they want to use this is so different. So you have to then learn to accommodate this particular customer, and I think that's one thing that has given us an edge because we learn quite quickly and we then try to implement it even quicker. But that said, it allows us to customize the solution essentially to fit what a customer needs because we're not strict or stringent in terms of like if a customer says um, I want my solution to do this and this for me. And then we're like, oh, we're only able to do up to point X. Sometimes,
Yeah.
yes, because we've had to push, for example, when you look at our product roadmap, you can find that maybe we've approached a customer, but then that customer probably needs a feature that's like not released yet. It's like it's to be released on Q4. So you either if the customer is big enough,
Yeah.
or rather if the customer is probably someone who is probably going to give you like a proper use case, for example, in terms of like the amount of feedback they're going to give you with this feature is enough for you to test it properly, then you essentially uh, speed up the process.
Today, you're solving customer experience challenges. If we were to zoom out, what are the product opportunities are you seeing in the African landscape? What would you be building today?
I don't think there's anything else I'd rather build than what I'm building right now.
Really, there's nothing you've seen and you were
Essentially,
like, damn, why did I not think of that?
I mean, like they're amazing businesses out here that people are building. They're brilliant founders are building like you know proper businesses. And some of them are doing it in stealth mode. Some of them are you know seasoned guys who essentially have to make noise because that's their niche. But like I think for me, because when you look at our generation right now, like I'm a millennial, and so the bigger population is Gen Zs, and then there's Gen Alphas, and that
Yeah.
population essentially, if you're a business, whether you're a small business, whether you are a big business, how these guys want to communicate with you is a channel of their preference. So today they can tell you, I want to communicate with you through Facebook or WhatsApp or Instagram or LinkedIn, and they want to be able to get a response from you, whether you like it or not, as a business. So it's up to you to define how you would then want to interact with these customers. Do you want to be known as a business that only responds on Facebook, or do you want to be known as a business that responds through all channels? And we've made that available to businesses because we've then integrated all those platforms into one to make your work easy as a business, so that you don't have to you don't have to have so many fragmented ways of communication where you're running on Facebook's this side, you're only one person or two people or three, and you're overwhelmed. But that said, I think um, probably AI agent is going to change the game a lot. Um, so if I was to build anything, I'd probably do anything to do with AI agents, and I think a lot of people are already doing it. A lot of people started doing it a while back. Like you've seen, China is winning big right now. They've also released like their own AI model, DeepSeek.
Yeah.
Yeah, and AI is here to stay. So I think probably I would want to learn more skills on how to incorporate that in my business, and probably either run it with what we have currently or keep iterating best of that. But I think for anyone who's looking to do a business, I think they should take advantage of AI. Actually, the market is changing rapidly, and it's either you change with it or yeah, you basically become obsolete.
What's next for Dial Africa? Where do you see the product in the next 5 years? Maybe new features or markets you're excited about?
Yeah, what's next? What's next for us is probably getting our rebranding right. Um, and I think we are super excited about the new product, or rather, let me not call it a new product, but the new version of our product, based off also the rebrand. So we're super super excited about it because I believe it's gonna be amazing, and probably you're one of the people who's gonna know about it once we push it out. But I think it's super amazing, and it's more granular in terms of the service that you need. So you can pick what you want as a business. If, for example, you only want calls, then you can pick calls, but then you can bring
Yeah.
in aspects of automated QA service. So it's
Hmm.
it's it's really it's really cool. And then now the aspects of artificial intelligence come out more. You can see them on surface level, because we've automated so many services out of that, and we have actually uh, brought in aspects of very deep-rooted AI analytics to help you basically just run your business smoothly, make more informed decisions, so that as a
Yeah.
business you're not waiting for 10 months or 10 weeks to make a decision about something that you'd have made on day one or day two. So yeah, I think for us that's part of our product roadmap. In terms of scaling, we're looking to scale into, of course, as I mentioned earlier, um, more mature markets,
Yeah.
like the US, the UK, and essentially Europe as a market. But we know the competition there is stiff. So
Yeah.
we actually have to get it right from the get-go. Otherwise, you're not gonna penetrate that market effectively if you don't get it right. So of course we have the help, because you're not gonna do it alone. And as they say, if you want to go far, you go alone. If you want to go further, you need a team. So we have a solid team behind us. We have a really, really solid team. And I think with the team that we have, and when I say the team, it's the team internally. We also have external consultants that we're working with, and investors who are also helping us just to make sure that we're on the right track. Yeah, in terms of getting that right. In terms of investment, of course, sometime in, I think, probably end of either beginning of this quarter or end of this quarter,
Yeah.
we're going to go back into the market to either do uh, an extension of our seed round or do our pre-series A. So that's essentially how we're looking at it in terms of a raise, to also help us be able to have enough muscle to scale as much as we would want to. I think in terms of team, we'll also be bringing in like very key people within the different departments that
Yeah.
will be creating as the business needs grow, essentially. So people within the marketing departments, people from probably cybersecurity aspects. So we're bringing in, of course, more engineers to also help us quickly iterate when it comes to like building the product. And then I think also in terms of legal, we would also be probably looking at getting some more licenses that would then help us probably tap into these other markets, because they they need more stringent and more very a very probably unique set of licenses that we need to apply for prior. So yeah, I think that's what we're looking at, and probably over the next 5 years, it's either, if God allows us,
Yeah.
probably we do IPO, and either IPO or acquisition, probably 5 to 10 years, give or take. Yeah.
Super exciting stuff. Any timeline on the version 2.0?
Yeah, I mean, probably mid next month is when we should be testing it out internally, not to the
Okay.
mass market. But to the mass market, probably beginning of the new quarter, hopefully.
Okay. So that's it's about April, first week of April, give or take.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Super exciting stuff. Japheth, this has been an amazing conversation. It's been exciting to see Africa's potential through your perspective. One last question. Where can listeners find you online if they want to reach out or learn more?
Yeah, if you want to reach us or learn more about what you do, you can reach us at www.dialafrica.com. But it's an Africa with a K. You can reach us there, or you can reach me personally on my email, dibo@dialafrica.com, or info@dialafrica.com. Yeah, you can feel free to call me anytime. My number is always available, 0769101464, anytime. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks again for coming on, Japheth.
Thank you, Gideon. It's been amazing.